Oh, is that what it
It's
is?
called meeting to order.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to
What? Okay, good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the April 24th edition of the Board of Commissioners meeting. I would like to remind everybody that this is a public meeting, and via Oregon law, we are in a hybrid mode, and we are recording via audio and video as well. And if you do need to address the board, please do so at the podium and tell us who you are and your name and address for the record, please. With that, we will go into awards, recognitions, and correspondence. Commissioner Timmons.
Do not have anything.
Don't have anything until we get to the proclamation.
Okay. Approval of previous minutes, December 6th and December 20th and January 3rd. We have three different ones.
I move for approval of all three.
Okay.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, any additions to the agenda? Okay. Public input and recognition of visitors. Now is time to address the board for anything that is not on the agenda at this time. Be in the room or,
Go ahead.
yes, sir, now is your time.
You want me to address?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Winners?
What's your address for the record?
806. And, but we, several years. Supposed to be some grant money, we come on short.
Have you talked to?
Yeah.
I'm not,
In fact,
hey, Tim, is this part of the project that I came out and talked to?
Yeah. This is it, yeah.
From my understanding, it moved from one person that was taking the lead from when we had our meeting to another person, and they're still in the process of putting that paperwork together.
Yeah, well. Financing through the county taxes.
Not through taxes, it's through the road improvement.
Wondered how that, if we can get the road paved this year or not, or.
From my understanding, have you talked to Tom Fellows? My understanding was still on the schedule. Have you talked to Tom Fellows?
No, I haven't talked to
Tom Fellows is the Director of Public Works. He's the one who's,
before we leave the building today.
well, he's out of Public Works.
Oh, yeah, doing stuff.
Yeah, it's a busy time. And I'm glad you came in, Tim, but
I just, okay. Heard that there's grant money.
that I don't know about.
Okay, well.
But I think everything, as far as I knew, was on schedule. So, but again, that's a lot of projects go on. And I know that Tom was kind of trying to work between the different leaders of the org. Have you taken it over now?
No, but he works.
Okay. Yeah, my suggestion is the first stop should be Public Works.
Okay.
Find out what the status is.
Well,
Fine, you're fine.
okay.
Thanks for stopping.
I got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
You bet.
Anybody else want to address the board? Yes, sir.
I live at 8. Just as a relay, some more facts. Bank right now. Hello, thank you. And Robert Polk. Would cost $38,000. They wanted us to try 842 for a little cushion. For currently, our $27,000 in the 14. A payment program like that. The issue is a lot of signed that individuals like myself and Tim and some others, we're retired. We got all the time. Well, have that time to travel to Payable. The delay paperwork to get that done.
It does, okay.
There are approximately 8 that currently are in that status. They want to sign. Get this road paved. You know, I've been there 21 years. July. And 100% stable. In addition to that, the other day when the road and there's an orange pickup that I would just sit. I believe it was.
That was on down there.
Oh, the bar is place.
Steve, you guys have done an incredible.
We want. Just a, you know,
You guys have done a great job of putting this together, even from our meeting that evening. You guys have done a great job. I understand there's been some changes in leadership for you guys.
yeah, correct. The Jared had to take a step back. And he's transitioned, and then he's running his church. So he had to take a step back for that.
I think
Trying to be there. Got stuff my way.
it's great having you guys come in. I love it when people come in, but really Tom Fellows is the guy
Right.
that will be able to tell you where you are on the schedule. I know he and I had a conversation and you guys were still on the schedule. I don't know if that's changed or not.
They told you we're on the schedule.
I think he told you.
My last conversation with Robert was finances.
Yeah, that's his job.
And, you know, he says, you know, we can't. And having the issues with. I mean,
Can I ask a question? How
Sorry.
much road is there?
It's 1 mile of road that we're looking for.
1 mile, okay.
1 mile. And if the estimated cost of that road is about 38,000 to have it paved. That's just
That's the residents half.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's all we're all zoned out. Our barrier to help us get this road. For the health of the,
Yep, I appreciate you bringing this to our attention and but so,
okay. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
thank you for your time, appreciate it. Okay, any other members of the public, either in person or online? Seeing any? Okay. And
Thank you guys for stopping.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
With that, we will jump into our business items. First item is Walla Watershed Council.
Good morning. Walla Basin Watershed Council, and our address is 810 South Main in Milton Freewater, Oregon. I provide some slides for this morning's presentation, and I do appreciate this opportunity. So the map of really a map of all the dots are all projects. First project up is it's a habitat and restoration flood action project. It's on Cows Creek. Cows Creek. For a number of years now. 2 years ago, we actually removed the final passage barrier on this. We're working on establish some habitat. Travel all the way up through the system into the upper part of this sub-watershed. Next slide, please. Restoration project. 2020 flood. Slide change, please. And this is what an area of the constructed first phase looks like. Came over into areas that we did have right. Size by about half or about. Project. This has been a great project with the local orchard. Creates a pest. Apples and send them on. Trying to get those. Steady decrease in the amount of analytes that we found and the amount in streams. So it's been a very effective and positive project.
Can I stop you right there?
Yes.
A question on that. So, what are your numbers today? versus what they were when you got started? You
Yes.
know?
As far as Jim put the years where we'll have a pest pressure that, you know, there's a need to maybe have an additional spray.
Mhm.
And, but if you look at the trend,
Just in the river?
yes, we test in the main stem and then we test out into the distributaries in the little Walla, the
Mhm.
east and west. Yes,
Kids play in those, you know,
yes.
and so I'm glad you're doing it.
So we tested in the urban areas and then out in the orchards.
Mhm.
We tested out in Pine Creek and Pine Creek tested for a couple of years. We weren't finding anything there. So it's been a great project. At the end of last year. So
Kind of project, Troy.
the if you look at into some of those ponds and scouring out.
That's a man-made pond.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And then we're going to put structures. And try to reduce that erosion. That's,
With the erosion, that lower left picture.
no, I in the lower left there. That's scoured out down off the middle part of Dry Creek.
Mhm.
We're talking to the landowner there to see what we can do to try to minimize the loss of his acreage there in the field there.
Mr. Baker, do you find that, you know, in the summer months, the Dry Creek is dry? I mean, you know, that's where it gets its name, right? Is it flowing underneath?
There are areas within Dry Creek that flow year round, so you'll have pockets of flow. But landowners that would want Searches within Dry Creek. We would like,
Dry Creek historically ever run year round?
I've heard that. But I don't know.
I'm an old guy.
Yeah.
I've never
No,
seen
I
it.
never have.
Not my lifetime.
And yeah, typically when they're naming a creek,
There's a reason.
but creeks like this,
Best look, Creek.
creeks like this in our basin can really support steelhead, summer steelhead, because steelhead get up. Which is, Cows Creek is a good example of that, because and one of the ways we do so is through trend monitoring. I've worked at the groundwater and also water temperature. Next slide, please. Watershed Council also works monthly community workshops. We hold those at our office. And also work with the local school districts.
That's, I gotta be honest with you, Troy, that's pretty impressive what you guys do with the school district. It's nice that the school districts participate on the other end.
It's one of the areas that we're trying to actually strengthen as well. We're trying to increase the amount of outreach and education that we're working with. So I do appreciate that comment.
You know, like,
Next slide. And here's some of the photos from the work, some of the outreach events. Last year we had a riparian planting on Earth Day. We have multiple volunteer planting efforts throughout the year. We've utilized the new Chinook hatchery up in South Fork, Walla. We've taken kids up there for tours. And then we've also started participating more in the local events in Milton Free Water. And the lower middle photo is one of the staff members dressed up as a beaver there for Halloween. So, next slide. And we've continued to conduct our outreach and education up at Harris Park. Every year we have an outdoor education program there. We've also conduct a project tour annually, and then we started participating in the Fridays of Maine in Milton Free Water. Last year and this year, we will complete the last remaining base flow assessment. We've been working with the Forest Service on the South Fork and North Fork, and now in Mill Creek, identifying the spring sources. So these are all springs that weren't previously located. So we're going up and identifying those, surveying them, and then all of that information is compiled onto a national spring database. Excuse me?
time of the year?
This is typically begins in July, start of July.
So you're actually looking for springs that are year-round springs then?
Correct. We typically wait until the runoff has occurred, and then we give the basin some time to get down to base flow. So these are all springs that you would typically find water at during the hottest parts.
How much water does it take to be classified as a spring? And there's a lot of drips, but
The majority of the springs that were documented do have flow. Now flow could be 0.01 CFS, but there are a lot of seeps that if we have the time and we can document, we'll document those, but we're concentrating mainly on the ones that are providing significant source of flow. And this last year, we hit a pretty big milestone with our aquifer recharge program. We crossed that 100,000 acre foot mark. So over the years, total, we've put in over 104,000 acre feet into the ground at our recharge sites. And this project has been funded over the last few years, mainly from local donations and support from the Blue Mountain Community Foundation. Next slide.
I want to add something right here. I live off of Miller Road, and so when we moved into our house many years ago, they piped east side ditch. And not too long after that, our neighbors started losing their wells. And these folks came in, did a recharge project right there at Chuck Robertson's place. And I think they helped save some of those wells. Anyway, very much appreciated, very proactive, and helping all those folks out there. So a great project. And you've got several that you've done around the area.
We have 17 sites at this time, and that Miller Road recharge site was one of the areas that we're looking at, not only to help with the groundwater, but also to see if we can impact that reach of the Walla Walla River, because we lose a lot of water in the Walla Walla at that location. We put water in the ground here, will it also move over and help bring up the water table to decrease the amount of water that's infiltrating into the ground? So it has a multiple benefit, and that site, it takes a lot of water, because I guess it needs a lot of water.
It's just a great project that they do.
Next slide. And it's been 10 years since we've looked at our strategic action plan. And so this year, the board is really taking on the task of revisiting our action plan, looking at adding a communication and funding plan to that strategic action plan as well. And hopefully we'll have that completed by the end of this year. And we're 30 years old, and 30 years the Watershed Council's been in existence. And so we're kind of taking the opportunity this year to also celebrate that. We're going to have an open house here on the 2nd of May, and I'd like to invite each one of you to come by if you have the time. It's going to be from 3 to 7 at our office in Milton Freewater. And then later this year, we're going to have a celebration dinner in October. And I hope to have that action plan ready to go by our celebration. I look at it as being a great time to really acknowledge the past, but also look at the future as well. Next slide. And I think we'll hit the milestone of $30 million that we brought into the basin for projects this year as well. So we will end our 30-year with bringing in $30 million of funding for projects for our local community.
How stable is the BPA funding?
Anytime you say stable and funding, sometimes that's, you ever feel stable with funding? It's
That's a huge part of your funding, and their direction's changing. So I'm just curious on that.
We've got some positive news this year. I think that we could be receiving additional funding this year, so we're hopeful there. But we always plan. I mean, we're always thinking about what ifs, and if the BPA funding does get reduced, I think we would have to, it's a matter of looking for funding elsewhere. Fortunately, the staff that I have at this point are all very capable grant writers, and I think that's a huge advantage to have in the organization. And then we also have been working with the Walla Walla 2050 program action plan. And I think, if we're focusing on the basin together, it's helpful for all of us looking for funding for projects. And it also gives us a vision of really what's important to our community. Next slide. Our success is really tied to all of our partners as well. And this is just a small list of our partners that I could fill up slides of people that have helped us and we've partnered with over the period of time. But I just want to point out that we really appreciate the partnerships that we have.
You need to partner with the people behind you.
Right behind you.
And that's my last slide, and I definitely take questions if you have any more.
Thank you very much for your presentation.
Angela, Mike,
Wonderful.
thank you very much. Appreciate your presentation. Okay, with that, we're going to stick with the theme. We're going to go with the BLM.
Good morning. My name is Shane DeForest. I'm the district manager for the Vale District down, Bureau of Land Management down in Vale, Oregon, address 100 Oregon Street, Vale 97918. And to my right,
Hi, Sandy Tennyson, the assistant field manager, currently the acting field manager for the Bakerfield office out of the Vale District in Baker City, 3100 H Street.
and our purpose here today is to provide you with a summary overview of some of the activities going on in the Vale District. I have a couple of handouts that you should have received already by email. It's on a quarterly basis, we prepare a summary update of all of the activities in the district, so we have some of those we'll hand out. In addition to that, we also have a copy, the Bureau of Land Management recently published what's termed the Public Lands Rule, and so there have been a few questions from individuals about the contents of that rule, and so I put together a small package that has some of the fact sheets that talk about some of the issues that we've heard from either other commissions or other courts or other members of the public about, so we'd like to hand those out if we may as well. So the public lands rule information, there's really a lot more detail than I think you all have time for us to go through today. But I would just as a reference tool, the things that I put together should help you to address some of the questions about things like the conservation mitigation easements, which have been in the news and there's been some misinformation presented about those. Areas of critical environmental concern. Those were two kind of important items that have circulated. There's been different misinformation circulating around. So there's a fact sheet in there that will hopefully help you to sort through it. And I would invite you to get back in touch with us if you have any additional follow-up questions about that. So moving on then, for the quarterly report, I think I'm going to go ahead and focus on stuff that we got in the Bakerfield office. And then if there's time and you're interested in hearing about some of the other activities in other parts of our district down in Mount Hero County, we do have some fairly noteworthy projects. I'd be happy to discuss more with you, but in the interest of time, I'll focus just on the stuff in the North Country in the Bakerfield office. So the National Historic Oregon Trails Interpretive Center has been closed for a number of years now. As I'm sure you know, that's sort of a gem for tourism and local economies on the eastern side of Oregon, and we're really excited that it's going to be reopening shortly. The end of May is the reopening ceremony, and we're excited that we're going to be able to receive visitors and students and other people who are interested in learning more about the Oregon Trail and some of the other local natural resource issues, or local natural resources stories. Inside the Bakerfield office, the big project we got going on, obviously, is the South Fork of the Walla area of critical environmental concern plan revision and update. That's something that's been going on for a couple of years now. It was really triggered by the 2020 floods, which we saw a presentation of just a minute ago, showing the scale and scope of impacts from the floods. In this particular location, we have an area of critical environmental concern, which has got some specific resources that we're interested in managing for. We also have some landowner interests at the top end of that, at the boundary with the Forest Service, that have some vacation homes up there. There's quite an uptick in recreational activity from Harris Park, which is a Umatilla County asset. And so the team has been working for really quite a long time now, trying to gather up the information so that we could put together a good solid plan that would meet as many of the resource interests and concerns that are on the table, and there are quite a few of them. The most recent activity we have completed has been just a review of what some of the prior existing rights were. There's quite a history of easements and access that's gone on in there, so it took us a fair bit of time to sort through all of those records, going all the way back to really the homesteading, stock raising homesteading act going in the 1800s. So going all the way back. So we got that all worked out, and then more recently, the team has been working to try to identify alternatives that we could analyze in our environmental document that would allow us to consider different forms of access that could be put back into the area of critical environmental concern, while at the same time still meeting the resource values for which the area of critical environmental concern was designated. And those are recreation, what are they?
Riparian, fisheries, and scenic view.
So what are your, I'm just gonna stop you right there. So what are some of your plans to have those owners have access to their property?
So we're still in the alternatives development phase, and so we haven't shut the door on any of the options yet. Really, I mean, what was formerly there going back into the 80s was a roadway that had a series of bridges. What evolved following that as a result of some of the floods and the withdrawal from Boise Cascade was the removal of the bridges with in-stream access. There's an existing trail on the other side of the river from the trailhead that the Forest Service has had since the 1940s. And so we're considering a variety of alternatives that would implement in one form or another different kinds of access routes. We haven't yet firmed up around those yet. We have a meeting with our cooperating agencies scheduled
Tuesday.
next week, next week on the 30th.
So
And what,
I want to, go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna ask where that meeting was gonna be at.
We'll be here.
It's going to be in the Forest Service office on the 30th. Here in Pendleton.
Okay.
So how long before these homeowners can expect a resolution? What time frame are we looking at? Because this is pretty important to us, as you can imagine.
Absolutely. We understand the concern, and without a doubt, the landowners' desires to have access back to their cabins is sitting first and foremost. For us, there is a specific procedure that we have to run through. That's our NEPA procedure, we call it. That's the one that produces the environmental assessment or environmental impact
Well versed in
statement.
NEPA.
Obviously, we have the Endangered
Four-letter
Species
word
Act
for-
compliance that we have to comply with, which I'm sure you're also well aware of. And the interest for us is that the product that we produce meets the criteria, the natural resource priorities that are designated through the area of critical environmental concern, that it's defensible, right? There are a variety of interests in the land up here, and that it also provides, that it meets the necessary review requirements that we're looking at different options.
Okay, so this is results of the 2020 flood, correct?
Yes.
So we still haven't done a NEPA process on that?
We're currently in the middle process.
4 years past the flood.
Yeah. We had some other, we started working on the project I would say about it. Well, we had the public meetings back in November of 22.
Remember
So
those.
that was kind of where we say that's where kind of started the working on the project. And then again this past year, with trying to figure out the historical use of the area, it took quite a while, a lot of research we had to go through to make sure we were good to go and could make some decisions on as we move forward with our alternatives.
I guess where I'm going with is maybe I'd like to see more foot on the gas instead of the brake.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I hear what you're saying, but I would respectfully respond by saying there's never been a foot on the brake. The administrative process that we have to go through, and I hear you, and so I'll speak first, and then we certainly go with wherever we need to go, but with the greatest amount of respect, the administrative process we go through and our interest in making sure that the document that we produce is defensible, that it meets all of our legal and regulatory requirements, does take time. This is not an easy problem to work on.
agree with that. And not to have this discussion, because I told myself I was not going to say a thing.
He did really good for a while.
Is that administrative process has no there is no support that that should have taken a year, other than it was not a priority above you. And that's, I think, the frustration on the ground here. And again, I'm part of the cooperating agency, so I got to be careful on what I say. But somehow, your desire, Sandy's desire, our desire has got to get relayed, because we're into this 18 months and we see no urgency at any level. And I know that's not your case. I truly believe there is an urgency there. But what we need to know is, how do we make that urgency known? Because there should have never taken 16 months for the review of the documents. That's hard to defend at any level. And so we need to figure out how to elevate, and again, I don't want to say a whole lot because I signed the cooperating agency, but I think if you leave here today, and I know there's a lot of good projects in here that I want to hear about, but if you leave here today, I think it's not that you guys have the conversation in the car on the way back. I think the conversation needs to be at not just Portland level, but higher than that. Because we talk to our Congress people and they reach out and they say, well, Denver's never heard of this. Portland said it's on the stack. We don't get any urgency at all from the BLM. And that's I think what's really worrisome to us. So anyway, that's my not saying anything.
I just want to chime in. I live in Milton Freewater, so you can imagine those folks that have those cabins up there. I know them well. And so I get pinned a lot on what's happening. And yeah, I'm sure you've heard the sad stories too. One gentleman, 93 years old, can't get to his cabin, and it's sad that they can't get to their own property. And so even though Dan's looking at this from, higher up a government level, I'm looking at it from the folks that actually own this property and can't get to it. So, I mean, I appreciate all the work you're doing, just like Dan said, but, joking.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
One other question. When was your meeting? You said it's the Forest Service building?
Yeah, on April 30th. Starts at 8:30.
At 8:30? Thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
Let's see, so, as we were discussing, another item that might be of interest is the 2024 Greater Sage Grouse National Resource Plan Amendment process, which is underway, and there's been a series of meetings taking place, throughout the West. The most recent one was down in Vail. It was about a week ago. They had one in, Boise as well, and there was a corresponding one in Lakeview. That document is currently online and available for review, and we are receiving public comments through June the 13th. And so if there is interest in reviewing or providing any comments, I can absolutely provide this board back with some additional information. There's actually a QR code for those techno people, and there's our e-planning website which allows you to access the document. But the Bureau is seeking comments from the public on that EIS document through June the 13th.
On that, I do want to say thank you. I think you guys did listen to the people of Umatilla County and removed the gray dot from the depot property. Shouldn't have been there to start with. But anyway.
Small things.
Thank you.
Let's see, the next project I'll talk about is the Boardman to Hemingway project. It's another significant project that's been underway for a significant number of years. Where we stand with that today is Idaho Power Company is there. I mean, we're really in some of those final stages of the permitting process. Idaho Power has a host of permits that they're still seeking and submitting packages and paperwork for from a variety of agencies, federal, state, and otherwise. And then in addition to that, the Bureau has undertaken a plan to do we call it just a field review. We're looking at some of the cultural work that was done. We've got a series of meetings scheduled beginning on May the 6th, 7th, and 8th, where we'll be inviting the tribes, the consulting parties from our programmatic agreement, come in and give us some information about the areas of concern that they have for the portions of the line where related to the cultural resource work, and then we will be developing a sample subset from that, which will be going into the field and doing a series of district inquiries. Some of the important takeaway points is this is not something that is unusual. The Bureau has an obligation to ensure that the work that's undertaken by contractors to meet our requirements under that particular law meets the standards that are established. And so we do that in a variety of ways. On the smaller scale projects, our archaeologists look at every one of the reports that are created. They look at every one of the descriptions that are produced, and they look at every recommendation that is created. And then in cases, they go out in the field and they check on them. This project has some notoriety in that it's a few hundred miles long. It's a significant project. It has public notoriety, but the work that we're doing is no different than, except for in terms of the scale, no different than the work that we would do in any other cultural project where we have a product produced by a contractor. And that could be argued in lots of different ways, but at the end of the day, our responsibility to monitor those projects and ensure that they meet the legal sufficiency standards exists in every project, and we do it for every project. We just do it in different ways. So that's an important note. Some of the scuttlebutt going around is indicating otherwise. It's just not the case. We're doing more here because it's a bigger, more significant project, but it isn't anything different than we would do any other time. So right now where we stand is those meetings begin on the 6th, 7th, and 8th for the BLM's cultural verification review. The work will begin hopefully by the end of the month of May, with an objective to have that work completed by the end of the month of June, with a report prepared, and we can hopefully submit that to the Oregon State Historic Preservation Office. Following that, then all the other permits and plans that are owed to us from Idaho Power are going to be in motion in one form or the other, and then it really becomes Idaho Power's determination of when they want to hire the contractor and begin working. For the agencies, for the Bureau of Land Management, we will issue something called a notice to proceed. There will likely be a series of notices to proceed. They'll probably come in segments for the line, and so our hope is that once Idaho Power's permits and plans are submitted, accepted, and they're issued by the state agencies, once we get our cultural review process through, the current working timeline is that it would be sometime I think it's either the end of August or the middle of September. That's our current working timeline for when notices to proceed will be issued, and Idaho Power will be able to do something with their line to begin construction. Now, that doesn't preclude them from beginning some activities in the state of Idaho. There's 20-some miles of line in the state of Idaho. There's a different set of rules that are working there. There's a different set of permits and plans. Some of them apply, some of them don't. So portions of this line will likely move forward in according to different time schedules. But right now, we're looking at something like the end of August, the middle of September, sometime in that time frame, when we're hopeful that unless something unexpected happens during our review process, we're hopeful that we will be able to get our notices issued.
I feel like I'm picking on you, and I'm not.
All right.
Okay?
Big shoulders.
Shane does good.
Slightly.
He puts up with me.
Boardman to Hemingway, 30 years in the process, and they haven't dug a hole yet. So, do you really think it's going to be in the next year or two?
I'll tell you, so we've had conversations like this in the Vail District more times than I like to think, right? We had our Southeast Oregon Resource Management Plan, that was 20 years in the making. I mean, I made a joke about it at one of our employees' meetings, but it wouldn't surprise me if somebody's grandchild was in here that, whose grandfather worked or grandmother worked on this project. I mean, they've been around, they're like pets, right? They just been around forever. So you're absolutely correct. There is, I think, there's a sort of a threshold point where really things actually do happen, right? We think about it, we worry about it, we worry about it, we worry about it, and then we cross a point. So like for our Southeast Oregon RMP, we came and went right up to the edge and we looked at it and we said, we can see the other side of this doorway here 2 or 3 different times. And it was just, it was coincidence of timing and whatever. The Boardman to Hemingway project is similar, right? I mean, we issued a final EIS, what was it, about 2020? 2018, it was right at, I mean, I got here in 2015, and so it was just a few years after I got here. But then it went into litigation, it was lost in the courts for quite a bit of time. We come out of the courts and we started moving forward. And, at that point, just the bureaucracy of the state and the federal processes work whatever magic they work, there's a whole bunch of things that have to happen. And we're at that point, I really do believe, where unless something really unexpected happens, right? Really unexpected, meaning if we're doing this cultural review, we find something super unexpected and we have to do something more, or if one of these other permitting processes has a short circuit, and there are a couple of pending questions that are still unanswered that are not small. There's one with the Oregon Department of Transportation related to gravel pits. We've got a bonding question from the Oregon Department of Energy that we're working on resolving. There is a couple of route realignments that we're working our way through. So there's not small things left, but I really do feel like we've gotten through a lot of the really big things. And so if it's not September, which I'm really hopeful and believe that it will be, if it's not September, it's not going to be that far after, unless we get more litigation in some fashion. Right? Courts do what the courts do, and fortunately or unfortunately, the public has a lot of access to the judicial system. So those things are laying out there, and I don't know what they are. I can't even begin to guess what they might be, but they're always there. But for us, I feel like we're getting there. We actually can see that horizon, and while we've seen that before, ears and toes crossed, we should be in a much better place.
Thank you.
Okay, hopefully that's the last big one y'all are really interested in. I got one more project to review, and then I'll just pop open for any other questions you might have about other things going on in the district. So we have the 2023, and I'm drawing your attention now to the last page of the briefing that we provided under the topic emergency stabilization and rehabilitation. So we had the Bensel Road Mutual Aid fire. And so we have as reported here, we've successfully repaired 2.5 miles of fence that was damaged during that fire. And we're working on additional projects, including hazard tree cutting, walkway bridge replacement, sign replacement, herbicide spray.
Great partnership with ODF&W on this one. Working really well together with them.
Do you have a real quick recap of weed control in this area?
Ask Sandy for that. We do have a section in here talking about weeds, but I'm not sure.
It is specific to redistribution.
Let's see, weeds is on page 2. Let's see. We've got the Unity Cooperative Weed Management Area.
Page 2, there's weed assistance agreements.
Yep, that's that. Virtue Flat Weed Wash Station.
I guess my question is, are you guys performing weed reviews, or are you contracting that out in this area in Umatilla County?
You'll have to remind me of the Tri-County part of that group, but I want to say that we've got a partnership with them, this financial agreement. We've been working closely with Tri-County on
Who's doing it?
our office, yeah.
No,
Yeah, oh.
no, the Tri-County agreement, but
Yeah,
are you leading the contracting on that, or are you designating areas, or how?
We're working closely with the contractors in the counties on what areas need spraying and attention and go from there.
So you're working with Teddy on that? Because that's who I should be talking to, Teddy or?
I'm not familiar with,
The reason I'm asking that is, and it kind of came up on a very, very successful thing, is when you guys helped us remove the homeless camp
yes.
and the RVs. One of the issues that came up was all the Russian thistle and the Russian olive on the backside. And then we started looking at the other properties down on Bensel, and very, very thick there with Russian olive. So I just was curious on how we were attacking.
Yeah,
And thank you guys very, very
Yeah,
much
no,
for
thank
letting.
you,
and
because the
Bensel
county helped us with that as well. Appreciate your support with that cleanup effort. I understand our BLM staff were on scene there doing some spraying a couple weeks ago at
Okay.
that site, so, and I'm assuming he's been looking around, looking at other areas as well. If we need to come back, we definitely will make sure
Thank you.
that's
That's a
attended
great
to.
answer, actually.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you.
You touched on it, the removal, and there's a
Yes,
picture.
there's a picture.
Thank you. That was huge.
We've,
Page 2.
That was,
There.
yeah, as soon as these come to our attention, of course, we have some steps that we have to take law enforcement wise, and to notify folks and give them time to move. And so, yeah, when we work really hard to assist any way we can. And then again, the corrections team that came out, I mean, I can't even, it was wonderful the work that they did, the towing company. It was great. They went in there with those big loaders, and you saw the one picture taking out the RVs that couldn't, those were the ones that could not be driven out, is what they removed. So it was a huge effort, great community involvement, and yeah, and then we've done some work. We've taken out the asphalt that was probably very inviting, and also have put up some eco blocks, the big kind of blocks to kind of make it so you
On
can't
it. It
drive
looks
into
good.
that
It
area.
looks good,
So yeah, so
With that same question, I know that Stephanie was looking at additional support staff. Did that come on board?
So, yeah, the short answer is no. We went through the advertising process, we identified a candidate, we made them an offer, they accepted the offer, and then before they completed the onboarding process, they got a better offer to stay where they were. So that set us back to ground zero again, and so we are going to be pursuing recruiting a second time for that position with the hope that we'll be successful.
That'd be great. I mean, that'd be a game changer for us.
Yeah, and we've been thinking about a couple of different scenarios, and one of the options, in fact, it's one of my preferred options, is that we look to have something called a resident ranger, which is, there's an awful lot of stuff that happens on the other side of the mountain here, up here. And so I have been lobbying for our candidate, if we can find one, to reside on this side of the mountain, put us in closer proximity to everything from the South Fork to the overstay camping issues that we have here. And if I can get that done, I will consider that a great success. And even within 50, 80 miles, right? Through Walla. If we can figure out something and get somebody there, that would be perfect for me, because we have a ranger to the south, Stephanie. They can go to the south if they need to. She can come to the north, but the trends look a lot like we need that person here.
Don't forget that our law enforcement has been offering for almost 3 years now to sign a contract with you. So.
Yeah, incidentally, are you aware, so we Oregon Washington BLM recently, maybe probably in the last 2 years at the most, they developed this zone concept, and so for the Vail district, it'd be Vail, Lakeview, Burns. We zoned our law enforcement responsibilities, and so we brought on board a supervisory law enforcement ranger. His name is Blake. Dornbush, are you aware of that shift that's happened in here?
I'm not, but are you, Jim? Jim says yes, or Under Sheriff Littlefield says yes.
I'm guessing maybe you've had contact with Blake then, sir?
We've met with them yet.
Okay, good. So Blake is a really great resource. He's effectively added the potential to have additional law enforcement support from those 3 different districts. Not that we can rely on them all the time, but absolutely. And the point of that was Blake would be the one that could have some additional conversations about the topic of, contracting law enforcement in Umatilla County. So I would invite you to follow up with Blake and have those opening discussions if you haven't already. And if you have already, then remind Mr. Dornbush that we can have some additional conversations, because I hadn't heard that yet.
We're going to start wrapping this up because we're 2 hours deep and we're still on item 2, so.
Thank you for taking as much time as you did. And again, if you have any other questions, please don't hesitate. I have some business cards. They're sort of old school. I'm happy to hand them out if you want. Otherwise, let me know if you need to dig any further into that sage grouse amendment process, if that's okay. Thank you for your time.
Okay, item number 3, Sheriff's Office Payable. The Under Sheriff's rolling on.
Good, thank you guys.
Mine's cold.
Nice insulation.
Good morning, Jim Littlefield, Under Sheriff at Umatilla County Sheriff's Office. What we have here today is a request to renew our annual subscription for the Courthouse Wellness app. I think this is our 3rd year in the app. We originally funded it with a 50% grant, and then we worked it into our budget. It's a $15,000 annual cost for the app, and again, what it is, to review, it's a wellness app that all of our staff have access to. We make it part of our onboarding process when any new staff comes on board, and it's a 24/7, 365 resource on an application on your phone. It has all sorts of resources that our staff can access. Lots of topics. I think last time I was here, we plugged my phone in so I could show you the app on the screen, if you remember that.
Yep.
But there's just a myriad of wellness, health, all sorts of topics that will help employees. For example, there's career wellness, emotional, mental health, family wellness, financial wellness, health. There's a leadership development aspect. There's nutrition, performance. There's a big peer support section in the app as well, physical fitness, sleep and trauma. And so in public safety over the last few years especially, wellness and resiliency has been a big topic for us. I'm sure you've heard that, those terminologies before. It's a resource that we can provide to our staff and their families that will help them anytime they think they need some resources in any of these topics. They can go to the app, look at some of the suggestions. Some of the personnel that are involved in the app are folks like Kevin Gilmartin, Dr. David Black, some of the leaders in the industry, PhDs. They provide videos, live feeds, self-assessments for all of these things. It's a very extensive application. It's sponsored by Lexipol. If you're familiar with Lexipol, their customer service is second to none. Everything is very well done on the app, and so we're requesting to renew the app once more for the next year. Funding would be split between our 3 primary divisions, which is already worked into our budget.
Full Gordon Graham. If it's predictable, it's preventable.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's good stuff there. Is there any indication of how many of your staff are using it or anything like that? Or
We gather usage data every year. It's an anonymous app, so we can't tell who. But over the last 9 months, we've had over 100 visits to each of the modules. 31 new logins. So anytime we onboard somebody, we provide them with the login information, show them the app. And so those are new, just in the last 9 months. So it's being well used and well received by our staff. And we hope that it continues. I think it's real helpful.
Well, I applaud you for taking care of your staff. I think it's a
Thank you.
very good
Appreciate
effort.
I'm a big believer in it after I've taken several tours through the app, and it's pretty amazing, actually. I would move to approve the $15,000 for Courthouse Shield for the sheriff's department.
I'll second that, but I do have a comment. Is that something that we could provide to everyone in the county?
I think it's first responder driven, but I'm not totally sure.
It's geared toward first responder. However, there may be another element that addresses the non-law enforcement or public safety entities. You might check it out through Lexipol to see if they offer one specific to non-public safety possibility. They do offer, of course, policy manuals and things for public safety and other entities as well. So they may be.
We're actually looking at stuff from Lexipol for,
Check Lexipol's website and see if the Courthouse app is available for non-public safety. Newspaper. Yeah, I'd recommend it for, any organization that, especially folks that, this is designed for folks in the high stress, trauma-based, professions. And so a lot of the stuff is geared toward that, but it could be available for other organizations as well.
We have other departments here that are just doing their own thing as far as wellness. And so it might be something worth looking into. So second, again.
okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. I think you're still up. Are you doing search and rescue proclamation, or are we?
Sure, yeah. What would you like to know? I'll let you do your proclamation, and then if I could, I'll make a plug for the
For the movie?
Where the Rope Ends
Yeah.
movie, if I can do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
Yep.
You, Doug, or who's doing that?
Want me to do it? Okay. I move to adopt order number BCC 2024-040, which is a proclamation recognizing our search and rescue volunteer during the Search and Rescue Volunteer Appreciation Week. Whereas every year between 10 and 50 search and rescue incidents occur within Umatilla County, whereas the victim of these sometimes life-threatening events depend on trained search and rescue personnel to help them in times of crisis. Whereas the majority of search and rescue personnel in Umatilla County are volunteers. Whereas these volunteers receive no compensation for their search and rescue activities. Whereas these search and rescue volunteers spend countless hours on their own time training in the various skills needed to be proficient in their craft. Whereas these search and rescue volunteers drop everything to respond to those in crisis, often leaving their homes and loved ones during times of inclement weather in rugged terrain. Whereas in doing so, these volunteers put themselves at risk to help others in need. Whereas this week of April 21, 2024, Umatilla County Search and Rescue will be hosting screenings of Where the Rope Ends at venues throughout the Umatilla County. Each event includes a viewing of the documentary, a meet and greet with search and rescue volunteers, and an opportunity to get hands-on with some of the equipment and technology that they use in their operations. Now, therefore, the Umatilla County Board of Commissioners orders and proclaims the week of April 21 through April 27, 2024, Search and Rescue Volunteer Appreciation Week, and encourages all citizens of Umatilla County to express their support and gratitude to a search and rescue volunteer, whether they be part of the Umatilla County Sheriff's Office or a member of the Umatilla County Fire Department.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, and Jim,
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate the proclamation, and just want to put in a plug for the movie. I went to the showing at the Watershed Cinema last night. It's very well done. It's produced as well as anything I've seen on television or in the movies. It's a documentary-based series, but it highlights the woman who fell in Snohomish County is where this actually occurred. So there's in a regional nexus to our area, and it just highlights the rescue, her struggles to recover, Very well done. We recommend anybody to go view it. Tonight, there's a screening at the Pendleton Center for the Arts. Tomorrow, Hermiston Cinema. And then Friday, the Prodigal Son down here on Main Street. The meet and greet is typically at 6 p.m. And then the actual show starts at 7 p.m. So be in your seat for the movie at 7 p.m. with your popcorn and everything. You know, since we've been in office, Sheriff Rowan's made it a priority to emphasize search and rescue, to provide as much support as we can, because we know how important it is to have search and rescue volunteers that are able to do the things that they do. This particular instance in the movie highlighted a helicopter rescue. So in that particular area, Snohomish County has an extensive search and rescue program, including a helicopter, very experienced, qualified 20, 30-year people who've been involved in SAR operations. And so we have some of those folks. We're fortunate enough to have some of those folks with that kind of experience in our county. They help provide rescues here. We work with Union County, Walla County, some of the other counties, and we're recognized around the state as one of the best search and rescue units in the state. Just read this morning that a gentleman fell off a cliff down in southern Oregon, and Curry County Search and Rescue had to do a body recovery. So these things happen frequently. We get calls all through the year for various types of rescues, and we have people here who are qualified, trained. They do a great job. We've talked about this many times in these venues here. So if you have an opportunity to go see the film, please do. Talk to the search and rescue folks. We have our equipment out. A lot of search and rescue folks there willing to talk to folks. Bring kids. There was probably 40 to 50 people at the showing last night at the Walla Cinema, which was a nice turnout. So we hope that we can have that or more at each of the other venues. So thanks so much.
Hermiston, right?
Pardon?
It's Hermiston, right?
Tonight's Pendleton Center for the Arts.
Oh,
Today, Wednesday? Yeah. Tomorrow's Hermiston. Yeah.
good thing you said that. I had it
Tomorrow,
backwards.
Thursday, Hermiston, yeah.
I would have had popcorn in a different movie.
Yeah, popcorn, yeah. All right. Thanks a lot. I appreciate the proclamation, and
Thank you.
thank you.
I would be remiss if I didn't offer Mr. Primer an opportunity to speak. I didn't know if he was here to speak on this behalf or in his
wasn't,
role as
actually.
Counselor Primer, but I would love to hear from you.
I'll step up here. My name's Doug Kremer. I represent a lot of different things. But under these circumstances, I have been a search and rescue diver for this county since 1983. I'm the guy that goes, and when something happens in the water, under the water, that's where I come in. And it's unfortunate, but that's what I do. And your proclamation and your support towards search and rescue efforts is beyond nice. I mean, it's fantastic that you guys are taking this time. Search and rescue is something that, of course, is near and dear to my heart. As I said, I've been doing it for a very, very long time. I can't say enough about having your support and your proclamation stating that support. Thank you very much for bringing that forward.
Thank you for all you do. I know how much you do, and I know how many hats you wear. I've called you out many times throughout my career and yours, so.
Yeah, like I said, the search and rescue part of things, I've been involved in the land-based, I've been involved in the water-based, basically. If somebody gets lost some way, shape, or form, I've been involved in a matter of ways of helping find them over the years, so, but again, the volunteerism that this county and the people in this area has towards that, towards helping one another is the kind of thing that makes this area so livable. And so, the fact that you guys recognize helps with that, because how often is it that, you go through, you do the rescues and you do the recoveries and all these things happen, and, you get a good job, and then the next day, you got to be back to work doing what it is that you do on a normal basis, and you deal with it. And, the app that the undersheriff brought forward on the last agenda item, that helps with that too, because there is a lot of stress that goes along with this type of a job, because up in the mountains falling, many people have been hurt during search and rescue operations. We've lost divers. One of the middle operations during the middle of my career, there were 2 search and rescue divers that were lost up in Yakima trying to recover 2 divers who had done something that was preventable, but 4 divers died that night. And then at the time I was with Columbia Basin Dive Rescue, and we were tasked with going up and recovering all 4 of those folks that had passed. So that was a very difficult thing to deal with, and then I had to be back to work the next day. So it's, there's a lot of things that take place in this realm of search and rescue, a lot of things that people don't see, and having some recognition makes that a little bit easier to deal with. It makes it that much better. So thank you for that.
Well, another thing that makes a huge difference is having the support at home. And
Yes.
your wife happens to be one of my heroes. So,
Mine too.
yeah, so.
Yeah, my wife, my wife and my family have been involved, through that part of things, and having your family involved and having those around you help out with that is you just couldn't do it. I could not have been doing it for 40 plus years without that backup.
For
So,
those who don't know, his wife is Captain Karen Brimmer, so absolutely.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys. Okay, Gina's been waiting very patiently back there. Solid Waste Committee.
No,
Oh, no, I'm
GIS.
sorry. GIS Intern Position. I'm sorry, Gina. I got ahead of myself.
Okay.
And you've been waiting patiently too.
Yeah, we're busy. Good morning, Board of Commissioners. My name is Rachel Reynolds, and I'm the Director of Assessment Taxation in the GIS Department. We ask you today to approve a summer internship position with the GIS Division. This position would be going out and collecting control points, starting out with existing surveys that we already have, doing that research to find them in there, putting a list together of other control points that we need to gather out in the field. So this is imperative to the accuracy of our assessor maps and any other mapping project that we've got going out in the county, whether it's health department, road department, whichever. At this point, we have applied for the ORMAP grant to cover this position. We will not know if that monies have been awarded to us until about mid-May. Our bid is under the threshold. That should be guaranteed, but nothing's guaranteed in life, so just want to throw that out there at this point. I do know that there's a possibility, if we do not receive the ORMAP grant funds, that there's other funds of it. So
Right.
our hope is with this, trying to find an intern to come in that has surveying and GIS experience, that maybe we can home grow a surveyor.
That's it. That'd be fantastic.
We are not finding anybody to come in. The one survey position in the county's been vacant for over 3 years. The surveyor that handles my end of things, well, someday would like to probably retire. So we need to kind of be looking forward to seeing what we can do to create one big position to handle. So for today, I'm asking for the approval of the internship position for the summer of 2024.
I would move for approval of the internship position 2024.
Motion is second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate the out-of-the-box thinking. Okay, now Gina.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Gina Miller, and I am the Code Enforcement Coordinator for Umatilla County. It's my day job, and I also serve as the staff liaison to the Solid Waste Advisory Committee. The Solid Waste Advisory Committee handles all the work that goes on with our waste haulers in Umatilla County. The committee is comprised of 7 individuals. 1 is a franchise member. 2 is the health director or appointed representative. 3 is the tribal representative, and then those 3, and then we have one more. I just had this down in my mind just a moment ago. And then we have 3 committee members at large from our communities. Recently, we received a notice that Arnie Swanson, who was on the committee for several years as a member at large, had to retire and leave his position due to personal reasons. And so today what we have before you is a request to appoint
Don Wysocki, oh, Planning Commission, that's the fourth one. Planning Commission, Don Wysocki actually sat on our Solid Waste Advisory Committee for many years as the liaison member from the Planning Commission, but when he left the Planning Commission recently, he had to step down as the representative on the Solid Waste Advisory Committee. He was replaced by Sam Tucker. But we are so excited to bring him back before you. He is agreed to join us as a member at large to replace Arnie Swanson. He comes to us with a very specific and relevant skill set as a soil scientist and has years of knowledge and experience with the different issues and matters that we face, challenges on that Solid Waste Advisory Committee. And so we very much appreciate your support in appointing him as member at large number 3. And I'm here if you have any questions.
Commissioners on the board.
I move to adopt order number BCC 2024-037, putting Don Wysocki on the Solid Waste Committee.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Megan is up with the amended stiff plan.
More money.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Megan Dovchevsky, Planning Division Manager. I also serve as the Transit Coordinator. So recently, ODOT has opened up an application to allow qualified entities the opportunity to amend their 2023 through 2025 STIP plans. The only reason they're allowing this is for counties to include additional STIP revenues that weren't previously expected. If the county does not submit an amendment request, ODOT will withhold this additional STIP revenue until the next biennium, which starts July 2025. I calculated the projected additional revenues and proposed that the funds be allocated to the STIP Reserve Fund project, which is Project 4, Task 6, in our current STIP plan until the next biennium. This estimated additional revenue amount is $658,921.10. And if approved, the total amount in the reserve fund will be $1,409,624.10.
Get that 10 cents in there.
Yeah.
I have, real quickly, I'm not gonna say typical ODOT, but, I would like to say this additional money is because this is based on a payroll tax, is that there's additional payroll. But this is actually more of an accounting, we had this part of our discussion yesterday, but, it is good to see ODOT recalculate that. I brought it up even before they did, so, in reality, you're way ahead of the curve when it comes to ODOT. I'm impressed, to say the least.
Thank you. Well, what happened is they gave us a balloon payment last July and didn't say what exactly the balloon payment was for, so I kind of had to figure it out. So we did get additional payroll revenues from the 21-23 biennium. And then in addition to that, they're expecting our payroll revenues to go up for the rest of the biennium.
Not because people are paying payroll,
Yeah.
but because of the calculation.
Surprised they're part with any funds at all.
Anyway, great job, Megan.
Thank
I would move for approval of the amended STIP plan and authorize the chair to sign the ODOT application.
Motion is second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. Thank you, Megan.
you.
Great work.
Okay. Next up is elections payable.
Not one of my weeks.
Good morning, Commissioners. Pam and I, Director of Administrative Services, and I wanted to introduce today to you our Elections Recording Supervisor, Steve Cragen, and try and get him used to how everything works here, so I'm going to go ahead and let him take care of this first one.
Welcome, Steve. Again, welcome.
Thank you. It's been quite enjoyable, so I'm liking the job.
Still here, that's okay.
No, you all have been very welcoming, so thank you. The payable in front of you is for the ballot printing for the primary election that's coming up in May. It is from Ryder Election Services in the amount of $21,313.05. It is an expense that is needed for this election and has been budgeted for. And since the invoice is over $5,000, it does require your approval to pay it.
Just hope people return said ballots. So, because I would love to be towards the top instead of the bottom of ballots returned.
On the front of those, instead where it says please return, can we put mandated? Just a quick question, primary versus general. Is this gonna be a similar expense for the general or less or more?
Depending upon voter registration, it probably will increase just a little bit just because of that. But
Which is good, yeah.
we're seeing a great increase.
Yeah, sometimes we have maybe a little bit more because we have separate ballots for Republicans, Democrats, and that, but then increase in voter turnout, or not voter turnout, but the voter registration and the electoral.
Kind of levels that out.
Yeah, probably similar.
Okay, thank you.
I move to approve payable to Ryder Election Services in the amount of $21,313.05.
Motion a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Motion carries.
Thank you, and thank job well done.
I have something to say. You corrected me the other day on my weekly update because apparently, elections are tricky. I mean, there's a little bit of something to them. And there was something that I certainly didn't know. And so you jumped right in and called Dan and said, that's not right. And I appreciated that just because I guess what that says for me is you have great knowledge in this area. It's not quite as cut and dry as what you think.
What was it that
It
you
had to
called
do
out?
with,
The candidates for commissioner, I believe.
It was 29th Senator,
the Senate,
29th District for Senator.
Okay.
yeah, and it had to do with, because they're all Republican. And what I said is that whoever wins the primary, no general election required. That's not right. That's
That'll
not
be the
right.
only name on the ballot in November.
It'll be the only name on the ballot. So
Depending
anyway,
what happens with write-ins on the Democrat side, so maybe so.
How many write-ins does it take to make the ballot?
Well, it would be whoever won the party's nomination. So this is a party nomination election.
There's no party nomination. There's no Democrat filed.
There is no Democrat filed, but there is a write-in option. And so whoever receives the most votes for that
Okay,
write-in
that's
option's name is the Democrat.
Designate, will that name go on the ballot?
If the person says yes, right?
Well, yes. There could be other circumstances where the Republican nominee or one of the Republican candidates is the Democrat nominee, and then they have the option, I believe it's still the law, to have both the Republican and Democrat nomination printed on the ballot.
If you go back to, I just forgot his name from Cove, Representative. Yes. So and I believe Hensel did too.
Yes.
And so they got to have that following their name. It's just like other candidates too, where we have the Working Party and different things like that, Green Party, whatever. They can add that if they nominate that candidate to the end of their, when it comes up on the November ballot, they can say also they're the working class family candidate too. Thank you.
and I appreciated the correction. Thank you. Learned something.
It was a team effort.
Thank you.
Yes, we're lucky to have Steve. He's got over 26 years of election experience and stuff coming to us from some of our biggest counties in the state, so we're very fortunate. We're showing him how we do things on the small side here, but he's also grew up in the Pelton area, so he's actually not planning to leave, which is nice.
Historic image conversion.
Now, before you commissioners is a payable for $10,000 to Helion, and it's for the conversion of the rest of the records images that, as you know, we had a discussion that they weren't converted originally. When they included in this also has the contract, when they came in and moved us over, installed the system 2 years ago, they didn't complete the conversion of the images, and so we never got billed for the conversion process and stuff. And so they are doing that now. This invoice was already part of the contract that we signed earlier, but since it's been a couple years, we're going ahead and bringing it forward to you to sign it since it's over $5,000. But it was originally, we're obligated to pay it because it was part of our original contract.
In a motion.
I move to approve payable to Helium Software Incorporated for the conversion of record office images for the amount of $10,000.
Motion is second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Cool.
Perfect. Well, hold on, give me a second. This is to pay the Umatilla County Fair Livestock Committee. It's a percentage of the overall livestock sale. It's used for a lot of things in the barns area. Everything from the shade cloth was paid for that. Partners with other private entities. Lamb Weston partnered with the livestock committee on like the barbecue ahead of time and things like that. Anyway, I moved, it's a negotiation between the Fair Board and the Livestock Committee. I move for approval of the $40,231.91 to be paid to the Livestock Sale Committee.
I second, but I have a question.
Sure.
Dan, what did you say was a partnership between who?
The Fair Board and Livestock Committee. Livestock Committee is a fair subcommittee.
Okay, thank you.
We've got a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 11, board payable.
This is for the seeking for payment for the
Oh,
material for
I can do that one
paving
too.
of.
This is for the pavement of the road in front of the path project, which I think everybody got a notice yesterday that they officially are totally moved into path now. And have closed the warming station up on the hill owned by Atkinson's. But this payment is for the pavement in front of the path project, and also does complete our process with the city of Umatilla on road transfer. With that said, I move for approval of the $67,199.82.
I second, but I have a comment here. I just want to, I talked to Tom about this, and he said that this was a great deal for the taxpayers. I mean, the whole project overall, it was just a good deal. So I just wanted to share that.
Excellent. Motion is second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Board's contract number 12. Oh, yeah, I can do this one. So the county has an opportunity to have produced a documentary highlighting places to live, visit, and start a business in Umatilla County. It would be available for distribution and promotion purposes. It'll also be nationwide, region-wide, and narrow-banded, which is targeted advertising. And the production cost is $29,300. Funds from economic development are available to cover the cost. With that, I would actually move approval for the project and authorize chair to sign agreement.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Motion carries.
Don't look at me like that. The next item on the agenda.
Oh. Item 13, vehicle purchase. I'm going to let you handle that one probably.
I think this should be titled The Never-Ending Story. This goes back to using the ECBG grant to purchase a county vehicle. The price that we were quoted from the vendor ended up not having the rebate up front. So the cost of the vehicle is an additional $7,500. The $7,500 will be repaid to the county through the pseudo IRS grant directly to the county.
So it's a net cost of zero to the county.
Yes, the answer is yes.
All right.
But that doesn't guarantee that something on this subject won't come back again. I'll guarantee you that. I move to approve the purchase of the Chevy Blazer, not to exceed 55,200 enterprise fleet management.
55,500, right?
Yes,
Okay.
55,500.
All right. I won't even ask. Second.
I don't even have words.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Could have predicted that one, huh?
Well, it's been 3 times now. Now there's enough that should have failed.
Third
That's
time's-
3 nights.
Yes. Third time's a charm, though. Hospital board appointment.
I can handle that. The Hospital Authority Board is a board appointed by this body to review and review bonding from different health organizations throughout the county. As right now, there's a bond from the Yakima Clinic for a facility in Hermiston. This board meets once a year to review those. And I reached out to Jeannie Jewett, who I think is going to be a excellent candidate. I'd like to see her even involved in more, but I'm going to move to adopt order number BCC 2024-038.
Motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item 15, Echo Community Benefit Plan.
I can handle. In compliance, the Echo Community Benefit Group met, reviewed projects, and actually in this case, at this meeting, reviewed some projects that actually credited money back. This is community benefit program funded by the Echo Wind Project. So at this point, I would like to move for approval of BCC Order 2024-039.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, last but not least, a letter of support, item 16. Reading it just like you are, probably.
I don't have it.
It's on the,
Look right here. Oh, you don't have, you don't have the right one?
Don't have it.
This is for the Agape House letter of support.
Oh,
So the board is, are you reading that one, Doug?
I can.
I just moved, everybody read it?
I read it.
Just for the record, though, I'm just gonna
Oh,
say
okay.
that the board's been requested to provide a letter for support for funding an application for East Oregon Mission for construction of additional buildings for use of for the Agape House. The letter is before the board for review and approval. And requested actions to approve letter for support for Agape House and authorize chair to sign.
I move.
I second it, and did we ever find out if we'd already done this?
I could not find one.
Sorry, but you move what? That's why,
I'm
I
sorry.
think I know the answer, but I
Okay,
want
I'm
to.
sorry. I move for a letter of support for Agape House and for grant funding.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Motion carries. With that, we have hit the end. Any final thoughts from Commissioner Timmons?
I do have a final thought. We have budget meeting. It starts in not too long, a little over an hour. And there's been a lot
What
of
time
work.
does it start?
Isn't it noon or 1? 2 hours, a little over 2 hours.
Oh, wait a minute.
But you know, a lot of work has went into this. And not only from our finance department, but I've met with all my department heads anyway. And, you know, there's just a lot of people that have done a lot of background work on this. And so just thank you, everybody who's been involved.
I agree with that, and especially with finance being down a key member. So, yeah, I agree.
I agree with that too. I just want to reinforce the STARS proclamation. I thought that was, thanks to everybody for that. Dwight, I don't think gets enough recognition for what he gets done out there and on a volunteer basis. He's going to be sorely missed. He does actually, I don't believe it'll ever happen, but when he actually does step away, he will be missed. And then just that's it.
Okay. And I don't have any further thoughts. I just echo what Commissioner Tim and Commissioner Owen said. So with that, we are adjourned. Thank you. Yeah.